everybody, ready to continue the journey into the electronic funds transfers FAQs? Let's skip that intro video again because we just covered questions 4, 5, and 6 in the last class, but I do have to make sure and again take note that this information is straight from the FAQ. But like I always do, I throw in my thoughts, I throw in my opinions, I even put in there the professor's oversimplified version. And yes, there's a class at the end to wrap up the series with some key takeaways. But I also again have to make sure you understand, I'm not an attorney and this is not legal advice. Those kind of questions, they need to be answered by your own legal counsel. But let's move along now. Question 6. Can a financial institution require a consumer to file a police report or other documentation as a condition of initiating an error resolution investigation? Or here's the professor's oversimplified version of that question. Do I have to file a police report to get my money back? Well, the answer is no, no, no. At least not to get the investigation started for sure. A financial institution must begin its investigation promptly upon receipt of an oral or written notice of error and may not delay initiating or completing an investigation pending receipt of information from the consumer. According to comments, and here's these comments right here if you want to go look them up. In the past, bureau examiners found that one or more financial institutions actually failed to initiate and complete reasonable error resolution investigations pending the receipt of additional information that they required or that was required by the institution itself. These examples can actually be found in that Bureau's Summer 2020 edition of Supervisory Highlights and also be found in the Fall 2014 edition of Supervisory Highlights. Now, what stems from this is, can you ask or request that the consumer file a police report? You can ask, yes, but you can't wait to start your investigation or have it even rely on it. Once you receive notice of the error, you've got to start it. Whether it's oral or written, you've got to start, okay? Once you get that notice. Oh, and speaking of notice, let's go on to question 7. If a consumer provides notice to a financial institution about an unauthorized electronic funds transfer, can the financial institution require that the consumer first contact the merchant about the potential unauthorized EFT before the financial institution initiates its error resolution investigation? Okay, let's go ahead and get the professor's oversimplified version of this question. Do I have to talk to that company or that merchant to be able to get my money back? The answer is no. It seems like all these answers are no. A financial institution must begin its investigation promptly upon receipt of an oral or written notice of error and may not delay initiating or completing an investigation pending receipt of information from the consumer. You just can't do it. You want to be able to see those comments? Boom, here's where you're going to be able to find them. Now, I'll tell you my opinion. It is a good idea if you are the consumer to contact the merchant, but the banks and credit unions can't require you to. All right, question 8. If a transfer meets the Regulation E definition of unauthorized electronic funds transfer, how does a financial institution then determine consumer's liability, if any? Ready for the professor's oversimplified version? How do we figure out who's going to take the loss? Yeah, that's what a lot of this comes down to. Who's going to be liable? Who's going to suffer the loss if a loss is suffered? I have to say that. Well, the answer to this one is, if a consumer has provided timely notice of an error under Regulation E and the financial institution determines that the error was an unauthorized electronic funds transfer, the liability protections in Regulation E would apply. Now, that doesn't mean the financial institution necessarily takes a loss because they can still work to try and get the money back, but they're going to be giving the money back to the consumer in that circumstance. Depending on the circumstances regarding the unauthorized EFT and the timing of the reporting, a consumer may or may not have some liability for the unauthorized EFT. It is really one of those that it definitely does depend on the situations. There's just no doubt about it. Now, if we look at questions 6 and 7, That gave us a big fat no to waiting to begin investigations until either a police report is filed or the merchant is contacted. You just don't wait. And finally, question 8 basically says you just have to do your investigation and you're going to have to make a determination based on the results of the investigation, because the reality is every claim is going to be a little bit different and they may be handled a little different depending on the circumstances. And the circumstances of the particular claim, they're what going to help determine whose the liability exists for, if it does exist. Now, what does exist is your liability to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the conclusion of the Reg E miniseries. For now, class dismissed.